Hey guys, this is E-House from Gun Gamers. I'm borrowing River City Airsoft today for a little bit of outdoor filming. And last time I talked about the glorious VTAC Sling, it was just in a general opinion video about running a 2-point sling versus other sling options for airsoft use. Today I want to talk very specifically about the Viking Tactics Sling and why this is personally my favorite sling for any type of airsoft use. So to start off with the obvious point, it's a 2-point sling. So I guess it's the obvious 2 points. But starting off, it's a 2-point sling. I've really gotten into 2-point slings after having used this Viking Tactics Sling especially, and that's why I really like it. But what does the Viking Tactics Sling do differently than other slings on the market that make it, in my opinion, the best choice? To start, there's the way that the adjustment is handled. So with the Viking Tactics Sling, you have a clasp here that is under spring tension that holds your sling at the length that you have it adjusted to. With this paracord pull, you yank that, pull on the sling, and it lets out the tension and allows you to rapidly uncinch as much length as you have cinched. But that tension only holds it one way, because if you want to grab the pull tab and yank on the sling, it immediately goes into, it pulls up the slack and lets you tighten up the sling. And you can do that as far as you want, because while you have the length of travel that the pull tab has just up to where it meets the weapon or meets where you have the rest of your sling, you can also yank on the Velcro keeper, that'll come undone, and you can tension it as much as you want. Some guys actually, if you watch the Viking Tactics videos, I believe Kyle Lamb himself will often run it where this keeper is not attached to the sling and he just has this pull tab dangling loose to be able to adjust the tension rapidly on the fly and not really have to worry about dealing with any of the slack. But I personally like having the keeper on there, and I just use it within a range of adjustment that I find works well for me, especially because I tend to drop my arm through the sling when I'm transitioning shoulders. But that rapid tension adjust, in my opinion, is a lot better than most of the other tension mechanisms that you have on the 2-point slings from, say, Magpul or Blue Force gear. And generally speaking, those can they get caught up and it's really a pain to adjust them in and out, and wow, that motion is suggestive, but it's kind of a big pain to get them to move. And this one, I just find that this mechanism and this particular way of handling the tension adjustment works very well and is much faster because it never gets caught up. The other nice thing about the Viking Tactics Sling is the padding. Now, there are different versions of the Viking Tactics Sling. The one I have is the wide padded version. I believe this is the wide padded enhanced version because it also has the leather pull tab on here. But the padding on the Viking Tactics Sling is a real lifesaver. I've worn this sling on any of my guns for games that have gone on for hours and hours and hours. I used this particular gun with this particular sling at Milsim West, the Caspian Gap, which is a 40-hour continuous game. And for the vast majority of that game, I had my weapon on my body with my sling. And the padding on the sling really does a good job of making the gun easy to carry comfortably. And there's a lot of other slings out there that either have no padding or the padding just doesn't do as well as I think the padding that Viking Tactics uses does. I think they did a really good job with their padding, and that makes carrying any gun that I've ever put a Viking Tactics Sling on very comfortable. I really, really like the padding. Speaking of the different versions of the Viking Tactics Sling, what we have here on the left is the wide padded upgraded sling that has that leather pull tab, and on the right we have the wide padded sling that has a nylon pull tab in matching multicam. So what do I think about the different versions? Well, for one, I would definitely recommend the wide padded sling as the go-to Viking Tactics sling, but number two, I would say the leather pull tab really earns its place, and it's a little extra money, but I like the rigidity of the leather pull tab and the fact that it's always going to be facing the same way versus the nylon webbing sling. It works, and I really have no major complaints with its performance, but it's a little less positive in the hand than the leather, and I like having the little bit of extra grip and texture to the leather and a little bit of added rigidity that I think makes it easier to adjust the sling on the fly. And as you can see here, the multicam version of the Viking Tactics Sling uses a little bit of a different material than the Coyote Brown version, but I like the material that they use for the padding still. I used this one for American Milsim's Fate of Giant 5, had very good luck with it. So the Viking Tactics padded sling in any of its various iterations is a definite recommendation. I just recommend the upgraded version because I like the leather pull tab. You know, I'm going to keep this sling. I'm not going to get rid of it because it doesn't have the leather, but comparing the two side by side, definitely recommend the enhanced edition. So I mentioned the pricing and the slings being a little bit different in their pricing. So let's just immediately get that out of the way. This sling runs for about $45 to $50. You can usually get them on Amazon Prime, shipped in 2 days, for I think 48 bucks. In my opinion, that's well worth it for a sling that's going on to, I mean, if you're using this for a firearm, you know, you're probably putting it on at least a $500 or $600 gun. I mean, it's really tailored to the AR-15, works well for AKs too. So for a good one of those, you're looking at least $500 or $600, probably more. And if you're putting it on an airsoft gun, I mean, that might seem like a lot if you're putting it on like a $150, you know, combat machine. But if you have, you know, a Crytac or a VFC that runs for $300 some odd base, and then you put an optic and a light and all that other crap on there, in my opinion, skimping on a sling is kind of a fool's errand, because what you're going to be doing there is you're going to risk dropping your gun, you're going to risk having your sling break, and you may either lose or break this investment of, I probably have $500 or $600 worth of crap in and on this gun. So having a $48 sling to keep it retained to my body, to make sure I have it when I can use it, or I can use it when I need to in game, and to make sure it doesn't come off of me when I'm doing something crazy like the rappelling at Gladio that we have on video, it's easily worth it to spend the money on a good sling and make sure that you're going to have that weapon retained to your body. So are there any downsides to the Viking Tactics Sling? I've got two. So one is, as much as I love 2 points, it is a 2-point. So it comes as a 2-point sling with no clips or QD points or any mechanism to really put it into some different sling adapters. So what you're going to have there is you're going to need to either get a Magpul RSA for the front if you want to use it with something that doesn't have a front sling mount, and you're going to have a stock that allows you to put a sling just through it and not actually use a clip or a QD point. Now, you can buy QD points to put on here to make it a QD ready sling, but that's extra money. And also, if you want to run it as a 2 to 1 point convertible, that's also extra money, because Viking Tactics does sell a CNC'd aluminum piece that you can put on this sling to make it a 1 to 2 point convertible, but that requires you, one, buying at least a front QD point for the sling, and two, that requires you buying another piece for the sling. So the base configuration is what you get for 48, $50, and then you have to spend extra money if you want to put other accessories with it and run it different ways. Another possible con for the Viking Tactics Sling is going to depend on your gear setup. Now, I have a Cry JPC on my person right now, so this is not actually a plate carrier that will cause this issue, at least it shouldn't, but I was running this with my Mission Spec EOC, which has some exposed Velcro on the top of the shoulder straps, and it was actually hook Velcro. And if you see here how the sling is going to interface over a piece of gear, this area was catching on the hook Velcro on my Mission Spec EOC, and it was causing me to have trouble manipulating the rifle when I needed to do shoulder transitions especially, and get that sling out of its own way and off of the hook Velcro. And I actually had some material pilling that I had to burn off a little bit because it was interfacing with that hook Velcro when I wasn't wanting it to. So that's another potential thing to watch out for. I don't think that'll be an issue with the material the multicam sling is made out of, the more nylon-y material, but this particular sling is a softer material, the Coyote Brown wide padded enhanced edition. It's a little bit of a softer material that is going to get a little bit of pilling if it's interfacing with hook Velcro that is on your nylon gear. So if you're running this sling with a plate carrier or a chest rig that has exposed hook Velcro, you might want to find a solution to cover that Velcro up to make sure that your sling isn't going to be caught on it. Overall, though, I think it's pretty obvious what I think of the Viking Tactics sling. I mean, I own I own 3 of them. I have 2 here with me. I have a 3rd one on one of my AKs at home. So yeah, I like this sling a lot. It's my personal favorite sling, even in the base configuration where it's not QD or clip ready. I just really, really, really like this sling, and I think it's a fantastic design, and it works really well. All that good stuff. You know, the accessories that you have to buy extra if you want to run it certain ways are a con, and the fact that the particular material that this coyote brown wide padded enhanced sling is made out of can catch on some Velcro is also a bit of a frustration sometimes. But overall, for everything that this sling does, for the price and for how great I think it is, I definitely recommend it. So if you're looking into a good sling for any of your uses, tactical shooting, home defense, airsoft is what I've been using it for mostly, definitely give the Viking Tactics Sling series a look. They come from the highest recommendation from me. In fact, my team is an inside joke now because every time someone complains about their sling, I say they should get a glorious VTAC Sling. So if that doesn't tell you what I think of it, nothing will. Anyways, hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully Viking Tactics, my check clears soon. This is E-House, signing off.